Hello everyone and welcome to the msrp Whiskey Room. My name is Jason C, and if you're a subscriber, thanks so much for the support. If you're new to the channel, looking for the latest in whiskey and bourbon news and reviews, you have found the right place. So hit that subscribe button below and hit that bell notification so you know when I'm putting out a new video, or you could join in one of my fun live streams. The fourth and final release from the Booker Small Batch series in 2019 is here. It's called Beaten Biscuits, and like all Bookers, it has a great story behind it. But does it have what it takes to unseat the third release named Country Ham as my favorite Bookers of 2019? Well, we're going to find that out today on the Mash and Drum. Beaten Biscuits is the fourth and final release for 2019. It's bottled the way Jim Beam legend Booker Noe always wants it to be. Uncut, unfiltered, and blended from the center cut parts of the Jim Beam warehouses. As with all Booker's batches, the name of the batch comes from a great story about Booker Noe that's included in the box on a little card as told by Fred Noe. I'll read it here as you get a closer look at the bottle. This batch is named after the small cracker-like biscuits my dad, Booker Noe, loved to make. Like his bourbon and his country hams, he was meticulous about getting them just right. Dad learned to make beaten biscuits from his grandmother, and he spent years trying to perfect the recipe. These little biscuits required the air to be beaten out of them, which is how they got their name, and they had little holes in them to keep them from getting stale too fast. He'd camp out in the kitchen for hours, tinker with the recipe, leave it alone for a while, and then come back for more. At the end of the day, the biscuits didn't have much taste to them, but that's why Dad liked them. They wouldn't alter the flavor of the country ham or the bourbon he loved to enjoy with them. The holidays are always a big time for our family, and Dad liked to send these biscuits with his legendary country hams as gifts. In the spirit of the holiday season, I hope you enjoy this batch alongside your own family traditions. As told by Fred Noe, Beam's family's 7th generation master distiller. Booker's Beaten Biscuits is 6 years, 6 months, and 19 days old. It's bottled at 126.1 proof and available now for just a retail price of around 70 to 80 bucks. What's funny, if you remember the country ham batch story from the third release, he mentions the biscuits in that story as well. So Booker was pretty serious about his ham and his biscuits. So let's go into the color and see what we get here. So first off, you get that nice kind of a darker honey bourbon color there. A little bit of the that chestnut color that is always so reminiscent of a Booker's batch. A little bit of a copper in there too. Sticks to the glass really well. Being uncut, unfiltered, it's definitely going to stick really well. It's got some great legs to it. All right, I've been sipping on this a little bit, as you could see, trying to get a good understanding of it. Let's go into the nose and see what we get. So typical Booker's nose here. I get a lot of peanut, I get a lot of honey, get a sharp burst of vanilla. There's some caramel, touch of fruitiness there. This one has a little bit more of a butterscotch note, which I really like, especially when you get it on a Booker's. There is some of that typical oak flavor there too. Definitely a good amount of charred oak. It's actually a tad bit smoky. It actually smells like if you've ever kind of made your own caramel at home, and then you cook the caramel down like to the point where it's almost going to burn, or you cook it a little bit too much. That's what it kind of smells like in here. It's like charred oak, some really intense caramel. But it's also very peppery on the nose. It's one of the more peppery and smoky batches I've had. Really nice, but overall, since it's opened up, it's gotten really sweet. So let's go for this first sip and see what we get. Here we go. Cheers. Wow, this is pure honey roasted peanuts on the palate. I mean, this is, you know, Jim Beam has that peanut flavor. This one, you could really taste it. This is like a fresh batch of honey roasted peanuts that you just cracked open. Really getting that on the palate. Get some of that oak, that smoke, definitely that caramel there, all at one time. Let's go for the next sip here. Here we go. All right, so this one's a little bit different because you get the vanilla and you get the caramel and you get the oak. That's always been typical of a good Booker's. But what happens on the back end, that peanut and that honey roasted really doesn't kick in until right in the back of the palate. And then you're left with this ongoing like pepper spice and cinnamon that just lingers and lingers and lingers. It's been true from the first time that I opened the bottle to now. It just has this pepperiness that just lingers on and on and on. And I don't remember that being from any of the other batches this year, but I kind of like it. Let's go for another sip here. Cheers. All right, so third sip is my palate's getting a little bit used to it. The oak is now coming to the forefront a little bit more. The vanilla and the caramels are getting stronger and stronger. Still get a great mouthfeel on the, like a typical Booker's. Again, this is a 126.1, so it's that typical Booker's proof in there. But the attribute to this bottle that sticks out since I've been sipping on it is the spiciness of it and the pepperiness that just lingers. It literally feels like someone took a like a black pepper shaker and just like shook it on the back of my palate. It just sits there, it lingers. There's a lot of cinnamon that's going on with it too. Let's go for another sip here. That might have been my favorite sip. All the flavors are starting to meld together really well. The caramels, the vanillas are now kind of forming a brown butter, like a butterscotch note. Really cooked down butterscotch. But again, that pepperiness will not go away. It's just sitting there, it lingers. It's one of those bourbons, I think, you just kind of pour a little bit and just sip on it little by little. It gets a little bit sweeter as you keep sipping on it, but the main attribute here that just lingers on and on is that peppery spice on the end. Okay, so let's compare them to the other three this year to find out which one you should be picking up if you had a choice of any four of these this year. Okay, so here are all four Booker's batches for 2019. We have Teresa's batch, Shiny Barrel batch, Booker's Country Ham, and Beaten Biscuits. So since these all are about 70 to 80 bucks per bottle, let's do a quick comparison of all four releases for 2019. So if you had to just pick up one, you know which one to grab based on what I'm tasting here. So Teresa's batch, let's start with that one. This one is bottled at 125.9 proof and is 6 years, 3 months, and 1 day old. Now, from what I remember, and if you guys remember my previous Booker's reviews, Teresa's batch was not my favorite. It was definitely an off batch. The nose is just it's a little bit flat. It's very alcohol forward, not all those beautiful Booker's flavors that you're used to. The oak and the vanilla just really don't come off the glass like you would normally think it would be for Booker's. Tad bit fruity. This one's opened up a little bit better here. All right, let's go for a sip. Cheers. Yeah. On the palate, it's just not as flavorful. This batch is just a little bit flat to me when you compare it to other Bookers. You get your caramel, you get your kind of that Cracker Jack note, a little bit of a, definitely get the peanut, but there's a bitterness that comes along with it a little bit. Yeah, Teresa's batch to me just falls a little bit flat, and it just doesn't offer that robust flavor from the front of the palate to the back. It just falls a little flat. It's a little bit bitter on the tail end. There's a little bit of fruitiness there. You still get the vanilla, the caramels, still get the oak, but it's just a little bit of a flat of a flavor profile. So take a quick drink of water here. All right, let's go to Shiny Barrel Batch here. Shiny Barrel Batch is 124 proof even, 6 years, 5 months, and 1 day old. So let's go to the nose. Yeah, so the nose on this one is way more intense. This one has a lot more caramel to it, a lot more of that honey roasted peanut characteristic. When you compare it to Teresa's batch here, yeah, Teresa's batch is just a little bit lighter. It's a little bit thinner. The Shiny Barrel batch actually gets Booker's to me on the right track here, back on the right track. This one has the more peanut, more intense vanilla, more caramels, the oak and Shiny Barrel batch. This one has a little bit of a fruitiness character that I really love. I get a hint of chocolate in the Shiny Barrel batch as well. This is definitely a way better batch than the Teresa's batch in my opinion. So let's go for a sip. Yeah, Shiny Barrel batch to me, and this hasn't changed. This is like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You get some fruit, you get a lot of that peanut flavor, you get some vanillas and caramels, but really the peanut flavor is just really amped up in this one. The peanut, and there's kind of a strawberry, raspberry jam thing going on, especially on the back end. Let's go for another sip here. Yeah, it's like a toasted, it tastes like a toasted, like you toast 2 pieces of bread, then you put like peanut butter and like strawberry or raspberry jam on there. So good. It definitely, it lingers on the palate too. It gives a nice flavor that just kind of sits around on the back of the palate. But if you really like that peanut and that strawberry and like kind of a berry flavor on a Booker's, then Shiny Barrel Batch might be the one for you. Get a quick sip of water here. All right, let's move over to Booker's Country Ham. This one comes in at 124.7 proof. This is 6 years, 4 months, and 2 days old. So let's get into the nose here. Yeah, something is crazy with this Country Ham batch. This is turned into just pure brown sugar and maple syrup. It smells like breakfast in a glass. I mean, you tend to think of a country ham, like if you make like a ham for Thanksgiving or Easter or a holiday that you celebrate, and you kind of glaze it with cinnamon or maple and some pineapple in there. I mean, this is just so sweet and so inviting on the nose. I absolutely love the nose on the country ham. A ton of cinnamon, a ton of maple syrup, vanilla extract. I mean, the vanilla is just super intense on this batch. All right, let's go in for a sip of the country ham. Here we go. Oh, my goodness. It's just so sweet and delicious. Yeah, I mean, you come off Teresa's batch and you come off Shiny Barrel batch, and they're good bourbons. Shiny Barrel definitely a little bit over the Teresa's batch, but this country ham is just on another level of sweetness. There's something going on in this one. Just the vanilla extract part of it, the caramels, that intense like maple finish on it, like that tastes like breakfast. This would be a good breakfast whiskey. Yeah, the sweetness on this one is just really intensified. It's really nice. Man. Yeah, and the honey peanut characteristic is still there, but you have to get past all the super sweetness that it gives you from the vanilla extract, that maple characteristic, the caramel, the deep rich caramels. It's just on another level. There is a little bit of a smokiness too on the back end, which I think works well for being named country ham. So all right, let's go to Beaten Biscuits now. Take a quick sip. All right, so Beaten Biscuits. As I mentioned, a good amount of oak. Now, if I'm going to kind of go through all four here on the noses, Teresa's would definitely be last. Shiny Barrel batch on the nose is just all peanut. You definitely get a little bit of a fruitiness characteristic on there as well. The country ham is just pure maple syrup and vanilla extract and super sweet. Shiny Barrel batch is more honey to me. You're getting a lot more honey on the nose. A little bit of a saltiness to it, kind of a salted honey roasted peanut. Definitely some oak. A little bit of a chocolate note on this one too. Yeah, Beaten Biscuits, if I had to kind of rate them, I say on the nose, I would say Teresa's batch is last, Shiny Barrel batch would be third, Beaten Biscuits would probably be second, and you have Country Ham first with all that sweetness. All right, let's go for a sip again of Beaten Biscuits. Okay, so Beaten Biscuits to me has what you want from a Booker's. It has the vanilla, the caramel, the oak, great mouthfeel. But like I said before, the differentiator on this batch is the finish. That peppery finish just lingers and lingers around. Not like these other three have that, but I feel like it's more alcohol forward. You get more of a kind of a burn on the end. But the Country Ham just kind of finishes sweet. It's a little bit too dangerously easy to drink. But this one, there's just a pepperiness that lingers. Even that I've sipped all four of these and my palate's gotten used to the proof, this one, the Beaten Biscuits still stands out as a peppery, cinnamon type finish. Let's go for one last sip here. Yeah, Beaten Biscuits has an extremely intense sweetness as well, but that finish that adds to it, yeah, Beaten Biscuits and Country Ham are pretty damn close. Beaten Biscuits has sweetness, although it's not as intense as Country Ham. But Beaten Biscuits also has that finish that just lingers, which I love in a bourbon. For those of you that watch my channel, you know I love a great finish that lingers on and on. Country Ham has that in the beginning, but then it tends to mellow out, and it's just pure syrupy candy goodness. So if you're at the store, you see any of these four batches, and you had to pick one, I think they would have to be between Country Ham or Beaten Biscuits. But let's break down each bottle here. Teresa's batch is just kind of a flat batch. There's just not enough going on to warrant spending that $70 to $80. There's not a big finish there. it just kind of, it falls a little bit flat. It's a little bit bitter. Even as you get some more air into it, it doesn't really improve, even from the first sips. So I would pass on the Teresa's batch. For the Shiny Barrel batch, if you love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, then I think Shiny Barrel batch would be the way to go. Shiny Barrel batch has like kind of that toasted, it's got like a toasted bread type note to it, that like doughy bread, and then the peanut characteristic falls into peanut butter. But then there's some fruitiness to it, I think, as well, and it definitely translates to the palate. Country Ham, I think, would be my #1 go-to. If you were gonna pick up, if you had one to pick up throughout the year, I would totally pick Booker's Country Ham. It may not have the finish that Beaten Biscuits has, but Booker's Country Ham has a level of sweetness that's probably not been in a Booker's batch since Sip a While from 2016, which is probably one of my more recent favorite batches. Booker's Country Ham has that maple, that intense vanilla extract. It's just so super sweet. It's easy to sip on, and it gets sweeter as the bottle opens up. So you like a sweet Booker's, if you really like that intense, just delicious flavors of Booker's, it is here in Country Ham. Now, as far as Beaten Biscuits, I think that one is a very close second place to Country Ham. This one has a lot of great sweetness to it, but if you like a finish, if you like pepper and cinnamon and something that just lingers on and on and on, Beaten Biscuits will be the one for you. It has some intense sweetness. It's not as intense as Country Ham. It's not as maple and syrupy and vanilla extract forward. The vanillas, the caramels, there's some oak, it's a little bit of smoke there, but the finish on this one is what differentiates it from the other three here. So if I had to pick an order here, Teresa's batch last, Shiny Barrel batch third, Beaten Biscuits a close second, but first, Country Ham. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this review for Booker's Beaten Biscuits, the final release of 2019. It's been a damn fine 2019, especially the last two batches. Country Ham is an absolute monster, a great winner, but Beaten Biscuits is not too far behind. If you like a good finish, go after the Beaten Biscuits. If you want just something sweet and candy, then go after the Country Ham. Easily, you can't go wrong with either of these two. So if you enjoyed the review, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram and find me on Twitter. Let me know if you've had any of these, if you've tasted Beaten Biscuits yet, if you've compared it to Country Ham. Always love talking with you guys, and as I always say, it is not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. So cheers, and I'm gonna have some more Beaten Biscuits. See you next time, guys.